Before we get too far along in TinkerCAD, I just want to go over a couple of things. I really like sketching both, in a notebook, but also sketching with materials as a first way to start designing. I think it's really useful to understand immediately where your challenge areas are going to be. For example, this one having a lot of stress in this front area. I maybe wouldn't have anticipated that if I was just designing in a virtual setting. So I really like sketching this way first. One of the things that I want to do is take 1 second to show you how I go from this into TinkerCAD and like what my brain process looks like and how you should think about breaking down your project. In pink here, I just kind of quickly identified some of the shapes that I see in my original design. So I have a rectangle, which is the main body of this phone stand, and then I have a notch in it that's another rectangle, and then I have a hole in it that is for the keychain. So I identified 3 shapes: a rectangle that's solid, a rectangle that's a hole, and a cylinder that's a hole. So that's really just 3 things that I have to model in TinkerCAD. And I'm going to click and drag a box into my work plane. This is going to be the main body of the phone stand. I'm going to refer to things in inches. So I'm going to change that for myself, but feel free to design it in whatever units you prefer. I know that mine needs to be 1/4 of an inch thick, and I had originally designed it at 3/4 of an inch deep. I'm going to leave it at 7/8. I think that that might be a slightly better design. And I had originally designed this at 3 inches. I'm going to go ahead and measure what my little prototype here is. It is 3 1/4. I have a feeling I can get away with 3 inches, especially if I'm going to print this out of plastic. So I'm going to go ahead and change that to 3. And again, please use tape measures. I know that they weren't included in the kits, but hopefully you have one. If you don't, reach out and I will make sure we do something about that, because we need to measure things. There's an old adage that I like to say, which is measure twice, cut once, but design many, many times. Okay, sorry, that was a rant. Okay, so 3 inches by 7/8 by 1/4 tall. That looks great. And remember, I thought that it was going to be a little bit sharp on those corners, so let me just increase the radius here and just soften that a little bit so that it's not too harsh. Okay, great. That seems good. I can increase the steps. I think that's just the resolution of our design, but that looks good to me. And now I'm going to come in with that notch that we talked about, and I'm referring to my notebook that has my dimensions on it, and this needs to be a 1/2 of an inch deep. So let's see, what did I just make that? This is 5/8. We want that to be 1/2 of an inch, and it should go exactly to the outside here. So looks like it's just protruding past that. So I'm going to scooch it over and change our snap grid so that I can get it exactly where I want it, right there. That looks good. I know that I also want this to be 1/2 of an inch. So I'm gonna, that again was measured based on my phone. So your drawings at my phone and my case. So yours may vary. And I also wanted it to be approximately 1/2 of an inch in from the edge, because I know that there's a lot of stress running in this area right here. I'm going to say that that's pretty good. And now I'm going to bring a cylinder in. I could have grabbed the hole. It doesn't really matter. I can also grab this one. Oh, this is a super fun trick. I have clicked on the corner here of the cylinder. I'm going to hold Shift, and I'm going to proportionally bring that down to about 1/8 of an inch, which is 0.125. There we go. I know that I need to orbit and it's too tiny, so now I can make it taller, but I know that it's 1/8 of an inch. And I can turn that into a hole just by clicking up here and changing it to a hole. So that is a convenient way to do that. And now I want to get this a little bit closer to the edge. Again, there's going to be a lot of stress on the key ring going against the plastic here, so you want to have enough material but not too much material, otherwise it's too clunky. So that looks pretty good. And my final step is clicking left clicker, capture everything, and group them together. And that is going to render my design. And so now you can see that we have a piece here that looks awfully similar, except a little bit more elegant, to my piece right here. So good luck designing. These are the things that you will need to document. So I am going to need to see your notebook, and you need to show me those iteration cycles of what you learned going from cardboard to whatever other materials you might use next. And then we're going to do a design sprint with the whole class and do a whip around, and everybody gets to share out what they have created so far and what they've learned and what the tricky parts are. We're going to give constructive feedback to each other about what might make the designs better. And then we're going to come into TinkerCAD and we're going to model those designs. And that is our design sprint for the week. Good luck. Happy making.